Hello everyone. In my last video I showed you how I converted my Jeep from my daily driver into my camping rig, and in this video I'll show you how I pack the final stuff that goes in it for a trip. I hope you find it interesting. What I've got on the bottom here is a 2-inch air foam sleeping pad. On top of that I've got a 3-inch memory foam pad, and then my sleeping bag goes on top of that. Then I've got a couple pillows that go on top, and then I also, since this is like a 50-degree bag or a 45-degree bag, I've got a old woolen army blanket that I put on top of that when it gets really cold, and that served me well down to about 25-30 degrees. When I first started using the Jeep on dusty roads, I found that dust would get inside and get all over my sleeping gear, and that is no fun sleeping in dusty gear. So I found an old used sheet laying around the house, and now I cover all my sleeping gear with the sheet. The dust goes on the sheet, and then when we get to camp I carefully remove the sheet and shake the dust off it, and then my sleeping gear is nice and clean. My camp chair and potty stool ride on top of the sleeping area. On long trips, my traction boards and other items like the table and the awning bag sit in here as well. We'll talk more on that later. By pulling the mattress back, I can get to the underfloor storage area where I keep my recovery gear and other items. There's a similar hatch set up on the other side of the fridge where the tools are stored. The small wood crate on top of the gray one is where I store my food. The small red crate on the bottom is my battery system. The top two larger crates hold my kitchen, with the water jugs in the bottom red crate. My camera gear and hiking boots ride in the passenger area. I use an old iPhone as a track recorder. It is mounted above the visor, attached to the roof latch with heavy-duty Velcro. My active iPhone is mounted to the grab handle on the A-pillar. The iPad is mounted to the dash with Velcro. The large screen makes it easy for me to follow the planned route. Next to the iPad is a Garmin inReach that I use to send text messages to my family when I am off the grid. I hope I never have to use the SOS feature. You may have noticed from my previous video that I don't have a roof rack on top of the Jeep. The main reason for that is fuel mileage. I do put stuff up on the roof, don't get me wrong, but I've come up with a different mounting system that I can use and doesn't have a permanent fuel mileage hit. When I do have stuff up there, I found that my fuel mileage is reduced by about 3 miles per gallon. That gets pretty significant when I'm driving down to Southern California or over to Moab, where it's 2,000 miles round trip. So I'll show you what I've come up with for that, and hope you can find it useful. I mounted some metal channel framing on the roof of the Jeep with 3M very high bond tape. This allows me to mount my traction boards and other items on the roof without the fuel mileage hit of a roof rack. The ham radio mount is also attached to the roof with 3M VHB tape. When I'm going on a long trip down to Southern California or Moab, these items ride inside the Jeep until I get to the trailhead, and then I move them to the roof. So, my traction boards, I've got a fold-up table, awning set up, and my shovel. And since the traction boards are kind of dirty, I built a bag that they go into out of some scrap fabric, and I put the traction boards in here before I put them inside the Jeep on top of the sleeping platform. Okay, so this is what the back of the Jeep looks like once it's loaded for a long trip. I got my 2 kitchen boxes here, water crate down here, then I've got my table, my shovel, awning bag, traction boards, and a chair. And as I said, I take the table, the shovel, the traction boards, and the awning and pop them up on top once I get to the trailhead. And that's how I save gas on doing long trips. This is how I have things set up on the roof when I'm running stuff on the roof. Ham radio is attached to its mount. I've got the shovel strapped down to the traction boards. The traction boards are anchored to the metal channel framing with the anchor points that came with the traction boards. I've put a piece of painted black plywood, gets bolted down to the metal channel framing, and on top of that goes my table and my awning, or sometimes I also add a privacy tent up here. So once I hit the trail, all of this stuff moves from inside the Jeep up here for better access and allows me to sleep in the Jeep. I hope you found this video interesting. If you liked it, please comment down below. Our next video will be a visit to Sand Lake in Oregon. Spend some time driving on the dunes, getting more experience driving in deep sand. And I want to thank my supporters that donate on PayPal, as well as all of my subscribers. And thank you for watching. Hope to see you on the next one.